Alrighty, so now we'll be looking at wiring up our motor controller and installing the encoders on the side. So for wiring up the motor controller, we'll need to consult the wiring diagram to know where you need to put the wires. For starters, here on the top we have our VCC. So this is the 5-volt output of the motor controller. This we're just going to wire up to 3 down and another 3 down from there, PWM-A and PWM-B. We want to put all of these in parallel, pulling up the PWM-A and B, such that then we can control it from in A1, in A2, and in B1 and in B2, such that in A1 and in A2 are running motor A, and in A1 and in A2 are running motor B. So for that, again, we'll just use some 24 gauge wire here, and we'll just solder this right on. Like I mentioned earlier, you have the option to create a pinned DuPont connector like this that you can just plug right in. It's useful, it's nice, it's convenient to have this, but it's a little bit more of a hassle to do. And if you don't already have these connectors, that's another $10, $15 to pick up the connectors and the crimper. If you have access to it, use it. It's going to work great. It's going to be awesome and simple. But here I'll show you how you can just solder them right on. Again, these were previously soldered, so we'll just get started with this process here. So just like all of the soldering that we did earlier, I'm first going to tin the wire. So now if the wire is tinned, we want to come onto the third one here. And just with a little bit of solder, get that stuck. So now with that stuck, I know that I need to jumper onto pin 3 and then jumper that further down. So I have a few options here. You could get fancy, strip the middle part of it off, put it on, bring it back around, put it on. It's really up to you what you want to do. I'm gonna cut it up here, and I'm just gonna put them on and show you how you can do this soldering with multiple. It can be kind of tricky to solder a couple of pieces on to one, couple of pieces of wire onto one of these pins, but I'll show you some tricks on how you can make it a little bit easier. Let's drop the piece of wire that I just cut off, so we'll just make a new one here. One good option is to twist these together just like this. My hands are in the way, aren't they? But you twist together the wires, and it doesn't need to be pretty. Just twist them together, put some solder on there. This one's starting to come loose. I'm gonna strip down a little bit more wire so we can get a better connection there. Get a little bit better contact. So there we go. That's the amount that we're looking for. So now again, just put them next to each other and then just twist. Now I'll put that off to the side so that we don't risk dripping solder down onto our board and possibly shorting a connection. Especially with something like this where we're adding a lot of solder and it's turned into kind of a big wire. It's good just to put it off to the side. And with it, because we have a lot there, it'll get a little bit hot, so you should wait for it to cool down a bit. So now we'll bring that around. We want to leave 2 pins, so we have our VCC in A, in A1, in A2, our PWM1, or sorry, PWM-A in B, PWM, B. So we'll put that guy right onto there. Now, this is a little bit tricky, and I don't want to be touching bare wire when I'm soldering, so I'll grab these pliers, bring it around. I want to put it on to 1, 2, 3. Right there like that. Perfect. And then I'll bring this guy off and connect it on. So see, it's not the prettiest connection, but it's going to do the job down here. Again, if you do decide after soldering that you want to switch over to using the DuPont connectors or something like that, you can just remove the solder from here and just take the soldering iron and kind of scrape it to remove the solder. Now we control the robot with a total of 4 wires. So we have 2 for controlling the left motor and 2 for controlling the right motor. I'll zoom out so you can see more of what I'm working with here. I've got my wire up there. Soldering iron set to the side. Solder. And now I'm working with these tools here. So I'll just do 2 at a time. I like to, when I'm just zipping along with these, just hold the wire in my hand. Let me get that more in frame for you guys. Just hold the wire in my hands, have the solder just kind of propped up, and then just put it on right like that. And have it in a place that I don't need to worry about it dripping or anything like that. Now I've got a whole gob on there. I can just put that right into the extra. So now color coding for these, it is useful to have a color code. I like to keep yellow and green together because those two go together on the encoders, and have white and blue together. It's just something for however you can remember it best, do it. And that's the best way for you to. You'll see how I have put the color coding into the documentation. It's simplest to follow that for it when you're doing the wiring on the other side, so you know what goes where. And I will show you something to be careful of here. Let's see if I can zoom in even further and see what that looks like. Ooh, wow, that's close. See here, I made a mistake and have a bridged connection. So there we have the 5 volts touching our signal wire. So I wanted to fix that. So I'm going to come in there. Okay. It's a new angle I haven't filmed in yet. So just touch that, and you see we have a good connection. That still is a good connection. Now I put the blue on this one. I want to make sure that I'm using the flat part of the soldering iron to make contact with the part that I'm soldering. And I guess you can kind of see that. Just let go when it moved. So I'll loosen that up and put it back on. There we go. Just give it the good tug test. If it doesn't go from a little tug, you're going to be fine. Now I'll do the other two. Let me zoom back out. Like I mentioned earlier, I like to keep the green and yellow together. Keep that here. Kind of cool thing about this is when you're working on just these really small connections, you can get, it'll stay liquid for a second. You might move something out of the way and it'll create a big gap for between the solder, between the wire and the pen. Best to try to avoid that. There was a cold joint where I didn't heat up the pin enough for the solder to really flow onto it and make a good connection. So there we go. That's looking pretty good. That's a little bit close, but I'm not worried about it. If you do end up having something acting weird, the best thing to check is both these connectors here as well as these pins to make sure that you have a good connection between the wire and the terminal block, as there's a chance that you might have clamped down on the heat shield, or sorry, on the shielding of the wire, or there just wasn't a good connection. So best to take a look at those things first when you're trying to troubleshoot problems. Now for the approximate wire length on this, again, assume that you might need to come all the way from one side, go in, might need to work the wires up to here, so longer is always better. You're best having to cut off a length of wire rather than doing it twice. So now with that, turn off the soldering iron, let that cool back down. We can get on to mounting our encoders on the side.